All right, let's talk about something that went up on TexasFootball.com on Monday, and something that I worked on over the course of the last week. It was something we unveiled last year that we are now going to update every single year, and I feel really pretty good about it. And we are talking about our 6-year Texas high school football program rankings. What we do is that we take all the data that we can gather and what we determine to be the determining data of what makes a Texas, how you measure a great Texas high school football program. And we put it into a little stew, we stir it up, and then we pour it all out, and we see where it goes.
It's the exact method,
That's the exact method. But basically what we do is for every Texas high school football program that has fielded a varsity team in the last 6 years, the UIL programs, we rank them based on the following criteria. It's games won, it's winning percentage, it's 10-win seasons, it's state championships, and it's state championship game appearances. To me, the reason we chose that, if you're asking me why we chose those kind of different elements, I would say that I think that those are ways of measuring successful seasons. Mm-hmm. In the sense that, obviously, if you make a state title game and win a state championship, that is good. But there are only X number of teams that do that. And so if we were to just use that, we would have, I'm going to take a shot in the dark, I don't have it in front of me, 48 teams that would be above all the other teams, end of story.
Yeah.
Right? Beyond that, there are great teams that never make it to a state championship game.
That's
right?
true.
And so that's why I want to include a team like something like 10-win seasons. Because if you win 10 games in a season, I think it is, I think it's fair to say you had a good season. Yeah, that's fine. We also took winning percentage. Obviously, you know, whatever the number of games you win against the number of games you lose, I think that's important. The other one is games won. And that's not just, they won 15 games. It's like how many games out of how many you could have won. Basically, here's the scale. The scale is, if over the course of 6 seasons, you go for we'll use 11-man numbers for this. 6-man numbers are a little bit different. If you go 96-0 and win 6 state championships, your rating is 100. That is a perfect rating. If you go 0-96, then it is it's a 0.
It is a not perfect rating.
It is a perfectly imperfect rating.
Yeah.
Perfectly imperfect rating. Luckily, we don't have any of those. But that's how we measure it. And there are other people who ask, well, why do you do 6 years? Why don't you do 10 years? Why don't you do 3 years? Why don't you do that? To me, 6 years is 1.5 graduation cycles. Mm-hmm. And as a result, that would mean that if you have one truly transcendent class, you cannot only rely on those 4 years. You have to have things on either side of it, or before or after. That is, to me, the reason that we spread it out. The other thing is that why I want to have a big enough sample so that it is not so that one particular great year doesn't have undue influence on the entire thing. So, for example, if you go 0-10, this does not happen to any team. But if you go 0-10, 0-10, 0-10, 16-0,
yeah.
You're still like, are you a great program? It's complicated, right? But in the end, you would be measured against all of those things. Yes, you'd get a bonus for the state championships and things like that. But to me, the 6 years spreads it out far enough that we're able to see what teams are rising to the top and what teams are not. Couple of things. You'll notice that I mentioned 6 years. That means that there are some very notable programs that are not eligible for this. Mm-hmm. Most notably, we do have a state champion who's not eligible.
I was going to say Shadow Creek.
Shadow Creek. Shadow Creek is not in the rankings. Shadow Creek, if you're interested, would be, I believe, in like the 60s of program rankings. And that's amazing considering they have
Started
only
2 years ago.
Considering they like their games won is what? They've won 31 games. It's 31 out of 96. Like they're getting dragged down by that, but obviously they've been fantastic. So they're not eligible. There are also a number of teams, especially the 6-man ranks, as well as teams like Sabine Pass and Roby, that didn't field a team this year. As a result, they get knocked out of the rankings. So when you take a look at the ranking, you see them. Insiders can see them at TexasFootball.com, but I've also got kind of a free thing that you can take a look at that'll kind of give you a big, like if you just want the top line numbers. The top 10 in the rankings are number one is unchanged. It's still Aledo. Aledo is a remarkable 90-5 over the last 6 years, which means that they have played one fewer game than the maximum. That's spectacular. They have been, between that, they've been in 5 title games. They've got 4 championships in that span. They were number 1 last year. They're number 1 this year. We have a new number 2, though, and they're new to the top 10. It's Richland Springs. Richland Springs, winners of their 9th state championship, they have vaulted up to number 2 in the rankings from number 12 a year ago. Refugio's number 3, Highland Park number 4, Canadian 5, Mart 6, Bremont 7, Carthage 8, Allen is at 9. They're actually down 7 spots. And then West Orange Stark is number 10. If you're interested, right outside the top 10, Gunner, La Vega, Newton, North Shore, and Borden County. So there are some changes at the top. Obviously, if you win a state championship, that does good things for you. You'll notice that those are teams that are up near the top.
It's crazy how that works.
We did, because it's a realignment year, we did add a number of teams because they've now played 6 seasons. Realignment cycle is 2 years. If you've played in 3 realignment cycles, that means you're in. So, for example, number 55, checking in for the first time, is College Station. Of course, they won the state championship back in 2017. They're at number 55. Pretty amazing. The next highest ranked new team is number 320, Sherilyn Pioneer, followed by Corpus Christi and London, Frisco Independence. Katie Tompkins is the only other newcomer in the top half of the rankings. We're the top 5 teams that are not ranked because they have not played 6 seasons. Number 1 will be Shadow Creek. Shouldn't be surprised. Number 2 is Midlothian Heritage. Number 3 is Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial. Number 4 is Frisco Reedy, and number 5 is Northside Harlan. Those are the 5 highest ranked teams that are presently ineligible. Teams. One of the things I love doing is taking a look at which teams made the biggest leap, because you kind of got to get lucky. It's not just that you have to have a great year in 2019, but you kind of need to have the last year that is dropping off be a bad one, one that's dragging you down. So, for example, Lampasas is the big mover this year. They're up 433 spots in the rankings, which is crazy. They were number 966. They're now number 533, making that leap because of their impressive year. Gladewater Sabine made a big leap. Corpus Christi Miller, Vanderbilt Industrial, and Friona also made big leaps. Those are largely, not only did they have great years this year, but they also, 2013 cycles out.
And that was a bad
year.
And
that was a bad year for all 4 of those teams, or all 5 of those teams. On the flip side, if you're losing a great year and you replace it with a bad one,
that one hurts.
You're going to tumble. New Boston is the one that strikes me. New Boston, I believe 2013 was a semifinal year for them. They made it to a semifinal. They had a bad year this year. They're down 471 spots. They are now.
It definitely is it can work vice versa.
Yes, they're down to number 919. If you're interested in just kind of small things, the highest rated 6A team is Allen. 5-8's Aledo, 4-8's Carthage, 3-8's Canadian, 2-8's Refugio, and 1-8's Richland Springs. One thing I always find is interesting is that you get to take a look at teams that you'd never think of having the exact same resume, but they do. Katy and Mason have the same resume.
Yeah.
They are both 75-9. They have a title, 2 title game appearances, and 10-win seasons. The highest ranked team without a state championship is number 19 Argyle. The highest ranked team without a state championship game appearance is number 35 East Bernard. And the highest ranked team without a 10-win season is number 311 Georgetown. So that's a quick look at the program ranking. You can find them at texasfootball.com. One thing I didn't need to know, and I tweeted about, but I'll say it. If you checked on Monday, check again today, because there was a snafu with North Shore. For some reason, the computer and the formula did not calculate in their state championship this year. As a result, they made a pretty big leap. I think they were like 20, and now they're 14. So if that isn't of interest to you, then check that out. It's at TexasFootball.com. We rank every one of the Texas high school football state championship teams from 1 through 1,100 and is it 90 this year? 1,189.
89, yeah.
89. If you are interested, if you're a glutton for punishment, the lowest ranked team in Texas high school football in our program rankings is Quitman. Quitman is 1-58 in their last 6 seasons. So there is a look at the Texas high school football program rankings. You can find them at texasfootball.com. And remember, They are for insiders only. So become a Dave Campbell's Texas Football Insider at texasfootball.com/insider.